Welcome to Azeroth United, a weekly podcast about World of Warcraft. My name is Denethar, and I am your host.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Today is Tuesday, June 11th, and this is episode 39 of Azeroth United. We have a great show lined up for you today. We'll pretty much be covering the beta and the War Within news that's coming down the pipe. There's a little bit of Cataclysm Classic news and some Season of Discovery, but the bulk of the show is going to be devoted to the War Within. As you may or may not know, there's a lot of big War Within news. So, pull up a chair, sit back, relax, and enjoy. And as always, if you have any questions or comments about the podcast, or if you have a particular topic that you would like to hear discussed, please email me at denethar1@gmail.com, or you can leave a voice message by going to speakpipe.com/AzerothUnited. Also, if you enjoy the show, please consider leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It helps out our distribution tremendously, so if you're inclined to do so, I'd be very grateful. All right, before we get to the news, I'll do a really, really quick rundown of what I got up to last week in WoW, because I pretty much just played the beta. Got beta installed on June 5th, got everything set up later that day, and so there's 3 beta servers. There's the Alaria and Khadgar, which are the normal, you level up, you go through the leveling zones. And I did a little bit of that on stream this week. But then there's the level 80. It's called This One Goes to 11. Very clever. So the level 80 where you can test all of your specs. You can run dungeons. I've been doing some heroics on my level 80 Resto Druid, trying out the Druid hero talents and all that. So I'll get into all that at a later time. But for now, that's pretty much what I did. I made a Druid, a Death Knight, Warrior. You can copy your characters onto the level 70 realms. So I copied a couple of my level 70 characters over, but and one thing that's really interesting, and I did mention this on the stream, but the starter gear that they give you on the template characters, the level 70 template characters, is terrible. It was like 408, which, I copied my Resto Druid over, and he was not that well geared. He's like 470, but even still, he was obliterating all of the starting quests. And on the warrior that I made, the template character that I made, I was kind of struggling. So that's it's interesting to see how the gear disparity is going to be once we get there. We're going to start off with our main characters and everybody who's got 500 and whatever item level, but eventually you're going to get to an alt, and you're going to go to Khazalgar, and it's going to stink. Because, you're going to have crappy gear, and you're going to get there, and you're going to be like, oh, wow, this is hard. So, anyway, but that's a problem for future us. Aside from that, I didn't do really anything I think I did a couple of the Firelands raids. But, I'm at this point, I'm kind of checked out of Season 4. And it's really all about the War Within and getting ready for that and prepping. I know a lot of people are still trying to get rating on their Dragonflight characters, and that's fine. Go for it. But for me, I'm all about getting ready for something new. All right. That's enough of that. We got a lot to talk about, so let's get into it.
It's time for the news.
In Blizzard news, okay, so the big news of the week, obviously, is the launch date for the War Within revealed. Oh, yay. So we know now that the War Within will launch on August 26th, or if you have early access, it'll launch on August 22nd. I do have early access. I'm not going to lie. I did buy it on both my accounts. So you can hate me if you want, but I did pay the extra. I mean, look, it's $50 to buy the expansion, $70 to get all the stuff that you get, the mount and the toys and the Hearthstone and all that stuff. And then I think you get the boost with the $70 one as well. And then for the $90 one, you get early access, beta access, and you get 30 days of game time. So really, I'm just saying, I don't want to lose money on this, right? So I went ahead and bought the I bought the Epic Edition on both. What are you going to do? So early access August 22nd, Launch August 26th. Season 1 starts September 10th, which I think a lot of people were kind of eyeballing September 10th for the actual expansion release. So, hey, from that standpoint, we're getting it 2 weeks early. The Race to World First will begin on September 17th because we are going to get Heroic Week. So let's go through that real quick. I'm jumping ahead of myself. So the early access will include level 80 hero talents and normal dungeons. And as far as we know, that's it. We don't actually know for sure that it's the normal dungeons. We know level 80 and hero talents. That's about it. We're assuming normal dungeons because that's part of the leveling process, but no heroic dungeons, none of that stuff. I don't think you're going to get delves. I don't think you're going to get professions. I don't think you're going to get earthen. I think all that stuff is coming with the actual launch. But we don't know for sure because Blizzard is, as is usual, they're being very cagey about, here's the info that we're not actually telling you anything. It's just, we're showing you what's coming in the War Within, but we're not telling you when things are going to be released. So we're going to have to guess on some of these things. So we believe launch, delves, earthen, professions, heroic dungeons after the reset. And we'll get into the dungeon changes here in just a minute. The first week of Season 1, which is September 10th, the week of, we're going to get Mythic Dungeons. We're going to get Mythic Plus Keystones. We're going to get Normal Raid. We're going to get Heroic Raid. And probably the higher level delves. And I say probably because I don't know. We might not get delves until Season 1 opens. I don't know. Because Bran is the Season 1 companion. So delves might actually be a seasonal release, which means that we won't get them until the season opens. We don't know. We're going to have to find out. But that would make sense because delves do give pretty good gear for the higher level delves. So Blizzard obviously wouldn't want people doing that early on. Mythic Dungeons also will come with Season 1. So that's the Mythic Zero, using that terminology. So, and then week 2 of Season 1 will be the Mythic Raid opening, probably the first wing of LFR as well. And then we'll get the Race to World First. So hopefully that'll be pretty fun, of Nerebar Palace and Queen Ansarek. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, I'm really excited about the raid. I've gushed about Mythic Plus many times on this show, and I think I'm nearing the end of my Mythic Plus excitement. So, but we'll get into that. So lots coming in that first time period. There's a lot of things that we still don't know for sure. Like there's a lot of UI changes. Obviously, that's going to come in the early access, or it should. The profession changes will all come with the launch. So that's going to be like the NPC crafting orders and things like that. And as we may or may not remember, the profession's knowledge points will all reset, or not reset, but we'll have to gather new knowledge points for the Khazalgar version of our profession. So just be ready for that. And I do believe that we're getting Dark Moon Fair that like the second week of launch, which will be great because we will get our profession knowledge right off the bat, extra bonus profession knowledge, so, and some skill points. So I would say on that first week or the first 2 week period, the preseason, get your profession leveled up as high as you can, and then go to the Dark Moon Fair and get a little extra points. So anyway, we'll get into all that stuff later on in a future episode. Basically, we'll talk about kind of the planning and preparing for the War Within and what's coming and what you can do to really get yourself in there. So, all right. Next up, and this one was big, the War Within Dungeon and Affix updates. All right. First of all, I made a post on Reddit about this before this update came out. And I made some assumptions on there that were wrong. And I defended my assumptions based on outdated information. And I was rightly so eviscerated. And I might have somebody come on the show next week to read me the riot act on this. We'll see. And if I do, great. I'm happy to welcome it. But if not, that's okay. But the invitation is out there, and you know who you are. All right. For dungeons, normal dungeons, that is unchanged. So the difficulty is unchanged. It's going to be the 8 War Within dungeons at launch, and that's going to be I don't have a list of those. anyway, the Stone Vault, the Dawnbreaker, blah, 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 the Rookery, all that stuff. And like I said, we'll go through all this stuff later. It's not really important right now because we're not going to run those anytime soon, at least not on the unless we're on the beta. Okay, Heroic Dungeons. So as we remember from Season 4 of Dragonflight, Heroic Dungeons are now the same difficulty as the old Mythic Zero was back in Season 3, except that without the added complexity of the Mythic Zero boss mechanics and things like that. So it's harder than the old Heroics were, but still not hard. I've been running some Heroics on the beta, and it's actually pretty fun. I'm really enjoying it. But here's the key. The Heroics, you'll be able to run Heroics the first 2 weeks of the preseason. But you'll be able to run them only by going to the dungeon itself. So you put a group together in the group finder, the old-fashioned way, and you go out there and you zone in. You set the difficulty to Heroic, and you zone in like some sort of vanilla player or something. And that's a daily lockout. So once you've run that dungeon once, you're done with it for the day. But there are 8, and there's 14 days or 15 days of the preseason. So you got plenty of time to gear up with some adventurer level gear. All right, so that's the preseason. In the Season 1, we're going to get the seasonal rotation. And we'll go through the seasonal rotation here in a minute. We'll get the seasonal rotation on Heroic Dungeons. So if we go back to Dragonflight Season 3, that would be Waycrest Manor, that would be Throne of the Tides, that sort of thing. We'll get those in Heroic. So when you queue up for Heroic in the random dungeon finder, you're going to get one of the 8 Season 1 dungeons, not the 8 War Within dungeons. And I know that's a little weird. This is a new thing that Blizzard is doing. They're trying it, and we'll see how it goes. All right, so that's Heroics. And those are still going to be on a daily lockout after the season starts. For Mythic Dungeons, this is Mythic 0, right? We're not talking about Keystones here. Just set it to Mythic. So same as usual, you have to put a group together. You cannot queue for a Mythic. But if you remember, these are the same difficulty as the old Mythic plus 10 from Season 3 and prior. So they're hard. And if you've run a Mythic Dungeon or a Mythic Zero in Season 4 of Dragonflight, you know they're hard. I mean, not so hard that you can't do them, obviously. You go in there, and what I find difficult is you get people who aren't ready for Mythic Plus, but they want to do something to get good gear, so they run a Mythic Zero, and turns out not being ready for Mythic Plus means also not being ready for Mythic Zero. So, yeah, they're tough. You're better off with a known group, but if you get a pug, then just be ready to wipe, especially in the first week of Season 1. All right, so the Mythic Dungeons, Mythic Zero will be unavailable in the preseason. No Mythic Dungeons in that first 2-week period of the War Within. Then, starting with Season 1 on September 10th, we will get them in the we'll get them with that launch, but they will have the seasonal rotation as well. So Stone Vault, Dawnbreaker, Arakara, City of Echoes, City of Threads, and then the old dungeons, or returning dungeons, I should say, are Grim Batal, Necrotic Wake, Mist of Tyrna Scythe, and Siege of Borealis. So if you like those dungeons, great. If you hated those dungeons, I'm sorry. We're going to get that for 6 months. That's how it is. All right. And then Mythic Zero dungeons are going to go from a weekly lockout to a daily lockout, which is really good. So if you are, let's say you have a group and you just want to run Mythic Zeros and that's all you want to do, and you're not looking to do any M+ because you don't like the timer or you don't like the affixes, great. You can do those once a day per dungeon, which is a lot of, if you run that many dungeons, if you do all 8 every day, that's 56 dungeon runs a week. That's a lot. So maybe you don't run them once a day every day, but maybe you have one that you really like. Maybe you really like Grim Batal because you like flying around on the dragons or whatever. Okay, you can run that one 4 or 5 times a week, and that's fine because you can run it once per day. So, all right. As I said, the Season 1 rotation. The new dungeons are the Stone Vault, the Dawnbreaker, City of Echoes, and City of Threads. And the returning dungeons are Grim Batal, Necrotic Wake, Mist of Tyrna Scythe, and Siege of Borealis. I don't know why I counted that. It was weird. My fingers don't count weird. I can't bring this finger up. Anyway. Okay. This is the big one that a lot of people have been really angry about on Twitter and on Reddit and on the WoW forums and pretty much anywhere that they can complain. The Mythic Plus affixes are changing yet again. We're going to get Fortified and Tyrannical at +2. We already have that. +4 is going to be a new set of affixes. And +7 will be the final affix. So if you remember, or if you look at Season 4 of Dragonflight currently, we have +2, +5, and +10 are the affix milestones. So that's being trimmed down to 2, 4, and 7, which I believe that's how it was back in Season 2. I think, or Season 1. Anyway, doesn't matter. Okay, so there's 4 new affixes. The first one is Reckless. Non-boss enemies without mana ignore 20% armor with their attacks, but their armor is reduced by 30% and they take 10% increased arcane damage. So basically, melee mobs are going to ignore tank armor, essentially. Or if a DPS pulls, then they're basically going to wipe out the DPS. So they have 20% armor pen. Their armor themselves is reduced by 30%, and they take 10% increased arcane damage. So physical attacks and arcane attacks are going to do more damage to them. So physical, you got your warriors, your rogues, your druids, your feral druids, your guardian druids, your monks, classes like that. And then arcane damage is going to be your balanced druids, your hunters, arcane mages. I can't think of any other classes that do arcane damage. Yeah, so that's the first affix. The next one is Thorned. And this works a lot if you remember the old Druid Thorns from Classic. So again, non-boss enemies without mana. So this is melee mobs primarily. Inflict physical damage to their attackers when attacked. So you hit them, they do damage to you. This is going to be really tough on those weeks because the healers are going to have to heal a lot. We don't know what type of damage that's going to do. Is it going to be, it's 50 health, or is it going to be 5,000 health per tick? We don't know. All right. So those mobs are going to take 10% increased holy and shadow damage. So holy damage is going to be your paladins, your priests, and shadow damage is going to be your shadow priests, your warlocks, your death knights, classes like that. All right. The next one is Attuned. Non-boss enemies with mana, so this is caster mobs, inflict 20% increased magic damage, but take 10% increased nature damage and 30% increased damage from bleed effects. This one's fun. So casters do more damage with their magic spells, which that makes perfect sense. It's a caster, they're going to hit harder that on the attuned weeks. But they're going to take more nature damage. That's going to be your balanced druids, your enhancement shaman, your elemental shaman, your hunters, I think, do nature damage. Yeah. I've been trying to do a list of all the spell damage and all the schools of magic that each class and each spec does, and there's a lot. So it's been tough. So I'll try to put something out about that later in the week. But yeah, so nature damage and then bleed effects also. So that's going to be your warriors, your rogues, your feral druids, guardian druids to some extent with Thrash. Yeah, those are your bleed effects. And then finally is Focused. So this is non-boss enemies with mana. So again, casters have 30% increased haste. So their spell casts are going to be hella fast. But they take increased damage from frost and fire. 10% increased frost and 10% increased fire. So that's going to be your frost is your DKs, your shamans, your mages. And then fire is going to be your demon hunters, your fire mages, monks, survival hunters, that sort of thing. So, yeah, it's it's going to be tough because I'll tell you, Blizzard's goal, I think, is to say, hey, this is a focused week. Why don't we take a fire mage that we normally wouldn't have taken? Or, oh, hey, this is a thorned week. Let's take that shadow priest. But in reality, what's going to happen is if you don't do holy or shadow damage on a thorned week, you're not going to go. If it's not your week, you're basically dog shit. And if it is your week, then you're barely passable. That's just how WoW players are. So I mean, it's fine. I get that they're trying something new. I like that they're trying something new. I just don't like this. By the way, I stole that from Reddit. All right, so the retiring affixes, now that we know that we've got 4 new ones, we're losing Afflicted, Incorporeal, Entangling, Storming, Volcanic, and Spiteful. I'll shed a little tear for Incorporeal. And Spiteful, honestly, I hate both of those. The returning affixes are Raging, Bolstering, Bursting, and Sanguine. They're gonna make us take Bolstering. We have no choice but to just live with Bolstering. It's gonna be in WoW 2036, the year 2036, and we're still gonna have fucking Bolstering in Mythic Plus. So, all right. Like I said, this is a lot, and I'm gonna put out some sort of, I don't know, some sort of guide on the spell schools for different classes. But like I said, there's a lot. I'm actually going through Warcraft logs, looking at which classes do which type of damage and do blah, 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 that sort of thing. So, all right. Yeah, I know. It's a lot. And I'll tell you, this just gives me even more reason that I don't want to do M+. First of all, we're going back to 247. So if you do a +4, you're gonna get these new affixes. And then if you do a +7, you're gonna get Bursting, Bolstering, blah, blah, blah. Now, what they did not include in this is the new breakdown of crests and what level or what your Great Vault rewards are going to be from different levels of M+. Because currently, if you run a +8, you get Myth Track gear in your Great Vault. And I don't think that that's going to stay the same, but I don't want to say, hey, it's going to be this, because Blizzard hasn't said yet. And I've already learned that if they haven't actually stated what is going to occur, I'm not opening my mouth. I'm not stepping, my foot will go straight in my mouth, and I just, no. But I believe that they did confirm, let me check here. Yeah, they did confirm that, so the new crests, we're done with the dragon crests, dragon themed crests. So the new crests are going to be Weathered Harbinger crest is basically Whelpling crests. Carved Harbinger crests are the new Drake crests. Runed Harbinger crests are the new Worm crests. And Gilded Harbinger crests are the new Aspect crests. Now, the reason I bring this up is because what Blizzard have stated is that the Gilded crests will drop from +9 keystones and above. So 9, 10, 11, whatever, Gilded crests. The Runed crests are going to drop from 4 and up through 8. So that means that if you do a 2 or a 3, you're going to get the Carved crests, which are basically equivalent to Drake crests. So right now in Season 4, if you run all 2s, you do 8 2s a week, fill up your vault with 2s, you also get Worm crests from doing those 2s. No longer the case. You have to at least get into a 4. And a 4 is when you get your first or your second affix, because you get Fortified and Tyrannical at +2, which means that it's going to be much, much harder to get those crests from Mythic Plus. Yeah, you can get into a +4, but if you're someone like me who struggles with higher level content or getting into groups to do higher level content, then yeah, it's going to be difficult. So I'm hoping that delves kind of fill that void for me. But as of right now, I'm looking at this and I'm like, I don't see the point in doing Mythic Plus, or at least trying to get into Mythic Plus, because in previous seasons, I struggled to get up to a 14. 15 was tough. I did them, but it was tough. And it was very rare that I ran that high level of Keystone. Anything above that, I think I did 120, and that was Throne of the Tides. And that was it. I've never done another one that high, ever. I did some 18s back in Season 3. Season 3. Season 4, I've done 1-3. I did a +3, no could, and I've done some +2s, and that's it. because honestly, I don't have the energy for that difficulty of content. Now, if I had a regular group that I was part of and I was in there and I was like, hey, we're coordinated, we're in Discord, and I'm learning the fights and then yes, I would do more Mythic Plus content. But at this point, I don't see the point. Not without a fixed group. Trying to pug those, it's not enjoyable for me. But that's a me thing. So if you enjoy pugging high level keys, great, continue to do that, and I'm happy for you. But that also, since we won't be getting the Gilded Harbinger crests until Mythic Plus 9, that means we probably won't get Myth Track gear until Mythic Plus 9 as well. But we don't know. Blizzard have not stated, so we'll have to see. We'll have to see how it goes. There's a lot that we still don't know, and a lot that we're going to kind of just speculate on right now. Yeah, so there you go. All right, we're going to move on from dungeons. The public test realms are now up, but we can't use them yet. We can't log on to them yet. The public test realms are going to be available on June 12th. You can get on there and copy your character from live servers, and they want you to copy as many characters as you can, because the main purpose for this test is to test the warbands. Okay, so then the servers themselves will be available on June 17th. So June 12th is tomorrow, as I'm recording this, but by the time you listen to this, it'll probably already be June 12th, so you'll be able to copy your characters. And then June 17th is Monday next week, so that's when the servers will convert everything to the PTR, and then you can log in. The reason they're doing it this way is because they have to convert everything to warbands. And there's some database shenanigans that are going to go on in the back end. And as somebody who works in IT and somebody who works with databases a lot, I know that database conversions are tough. They are really hard, because if you make one mistake, you're basically fucked. So, be patient. It'll take some time for them to convert everything, but they will do it. Okay, so what they say is your account may take several minutes to gather and convert all characters on first login. Not yet implemented. There will be a dialogue letting you know your character will be added to a warband. Okay, that's great. When we open the servers for log on June 17th, please reply to this thread and let us know your feedback along with the answers to the following questions. For any achievements that are newly account-wide, did they combine correctly across your characters? Did your Dragonflight reputation progress combine correctly? Furthest progress on any character? And finally, do you have your flight paths from all your merged characters? So I will have the thread in the show notes, but basically they're really trying to do a big stress test on the warband conversion, because this is the big feature of the pre-patch. And if they get it wrong, it's going to be a problem. So copy all of your characters. Anybody you have is level 70 or even level 60 is fine. And above. But copy all your high level characters over to the PTR if you are interested in testing. And give feedback to Blizzard, because honestly, at this point, I'm not going to trust Blizzard to test these things. I don't think they have the QA staff to really test this sort of thing. So we need to help as players, because this is our game too. I know we're not getting paid to develop it. We're paying to play it. But at the same time, do you want the game to be good or not? Because really that's what it boils down to. If you don't want the game to be good, then fine. You can not participate in this and complain. That's fine. You have the right to do that. But for someone like me, I want the game to be good. I want the game to be fun. And I really want warbands to be good. So I'm going to copy all my characters onto the PTR, and I'm going to be part of this test. So, all right. Known issues. Copied characters will be missing Dragonflight reputations, any flight points, and certain existing achievement progress. Well, okay. Item sort and cleanup does not work as expected in all cases. Dragonflight reputations will disappear in the reputation tab when logging out. Appearance acquisitions are sometimes listed twice in chat. Deposit all warbound items. Deposits more than warbound items. Deposit all warband items pulls items from the character bank. Okay. Some reagents cannot be used from the warband's bank. Items cannot be swapped in the account-wide bank, and players cannot purchase account-wide bank tabs with money stored in the account-wide bank. This is all stuff that is pretty common with this sort of thing. They're basically changing the core of the game by introducing the warbands, and I get it. And I'm not going to begrudge them. Oh, Blizzard, you multi-dollar company. No. Trust me, people, when I say this is hard. I don't care how much money you have. You have to have the attention to detail, and this is hard. This is going to be hard. Let's just leave it there. It's going to be hard. All right. Enough of that. Like I said, I'll have the link in the show notes where you can go and reply to that thread. But yeah, copy your characters over to the PTR, and hopefully that works. All right. Finally, for the news, we're still in the news. Jesus. The Welcome to Azeroth bundle is now available for $24.99. This is for new and returning players. $24.99 through June 23rd. You can get the Dragonflight expansion, 60 days of game time, and a level 60 character boost. That's a hell of a deal for $25. Holy shit. A character boost by itself is $60, or I guess that's a level 70 boost now. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is 60 days of game time, that's $30. Dragonflight, that's $50. This is a good deal. So if you have a friend who wants to try the War Within, wants to play the War Within with you, get them in there now, get them to level up. Yeah, boost your character. There's a great video that Taliesin did for Blizzard on this bundle. I will link that in the show notes. It's really well done. Everything that he does is well done. So, all right. Whew. Take a little break here. That's it for the news. Let's go through this week in World of Warcraft.
Let's talk about World of Warcraft.
In Dragonflight, this is Season 4, Week 8. Whew. Yeah, and now we know how many weeks we're going to have. I think it was 15 or something. 7 more weeks, I think. I don't know. I'll have the correct number next week when I do this segment. Mythic Plus affixes for the week are Fortified, Incorporeal, and Sanguine. So this is one of our last Incorporeals. I think we'll get one more. But yeah, enjoy it while you can, people. This is, this is the end of an era. Fortified non-bosses have more health and deal 30% more damage. Incorporeal being periodically spawned and cast destabilized. If the cast goes off, player damage and healing is reduced by 50%. Debuff stacks and mobs do not take damage and can only be crowd controlled. So this is your long CC, your sheep, your imprison, your whatever. There's how to do Incorporeal. And then Sanguine, non-boss enemies will leave a pool of blood on the ground. On death, this pool heals enemies and damages players for a percentage of their maximum health. All right, great. And Sanguine is staying, so, whatever. Fuck you, Sanguine. The Awakened content for the week is Season 2. As we learned last week, Blizzard is not, in fact, making all content available. We thought they were. They weren't. Yeah, that was... everybody thought that we were going to get to choose last week, and we did not. So we got Vault of the Incarnates and the Dragon Isles. So, yeah, this week we're going to get Season 2 content, which is Amherst the Shadowed Crucible. We're going to get the world boss Zakali Elders in Zeralak Cavern. The last hurrah quest will be the Zeralak Caverns and Time Rifts. So that's going to be protect the researchers under fire, loot a secured shipment, and complete a time rift, and you'll get a cache of Awakened Embers as a reward. And finally, you'll get the Sign of the Awakened Embers buff, which increases your reputation with Loam Niffin, Rathian Sibelian, and Sorodormi by 50%. The bonus event this week is the Battleground bonus event. You'll get the Sign of Battle, which is the honor from Battlegrounds objectives and wins increased by 50%, which is pretty cool. And you'll get a quest to called a Call to Battle from Khazra and Valdrakken to win 4 Battleground matches. And you will receive 5 Marks of Honor and 175 Conquest. I hate this one because I hate Battlegrounds now. I don't like PvPing anymore. I used to like PvP, but I don't anymore. So there you go. That's my in-depth analysis of the Battleground bonus event. The Shadowpan Showdown is this week. Step into Tiger's Peak Arena and get ready for the Shadowpan Showdown. You race for control of a center control point and activate one of 2 bosses. The first to kill the other team's boss wins. Yay! When you zone in, you'll get something different, which is a quest to win a PvP brawl, and you will be rewarded with Conquest, Honor, and Marks of Honor. Oh, okay. There was not any new hot fixes for the week. I mean, there was some stuff for the some changes for the beta, but we're not going to go into. I think there were some at the beginning of the week, but we're not getting into that. I've already been talking for a long time, and I don't want to bore you with reading a bunch of hotfixes. I'll go through the hotfix list for this last week, and if there were hotfixes, I'll put them in the show notes. So there you go. All right, let's move on to something new.
Let's talk about something new.
So let's talk about Season of Discovery for a little bit. I know. But it is still a thing, and people are still playing it. And I know that when the initial interest in Cataclysm Classic dies down, people are going to come back to Season of Discovery, especially when we get to level 60 and people can go do their Molten Core and all that stuff. So it is going to be pretty poppin' when Phase 4 comes out. So there was a tweet that was from Josh Egren. So first, let's go back to May, when he tweeted about the Phase 4 PTR, or the need for a Phase 4 PTR. So he said, cutting straight to it, as you have no doubt likely noticed, the World of Warcraft team has been delivering a lot of exciting content lately, and this will of course continue well through the next few months and beyond. As such, to land Phase 4 at just the right time, our current Phase 3 is going to last longer than previous Season of Discovery content phases. We can't share Phase 4's release date just yet, and we know this news and the longer Phase 3 may be disappointing to some, but our timeline will ensure the classic team developers blah, 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 blah. Suffice it to say, it's going to be a little bit longer than people were expecting. People were thinking there was actually going to be an 8-week Phase 3, and then we would get to level 60. That is not the case. We are way out there, and especially with all of the information that we've just gotten about The War Within and that's release, there's definitely going to be some timing things on this. So first of all, let's reference his tweet from yesterday. So he had, we'll go back to June 5th. So on June 5th, she said, figured I'd repost this for a bit more reach. Yes, PTR is coming soon, and the Phase 4 news is going to start ramping up next week. Really appreciate the patience. So that was just that there was going to be a Phase 4 PTR coming soon. And then he said, okay, alrighty, friends, we are ramping up for Season of Discovery PTR, finishing a few things up and fixing a few bugs before we go live. Just wanted to give an update before end of day Monday. That was yesterday. So you know we are still working towards getting it out in the next few days. Just need to finish a few things up first. Looking forward to talking about Season of Discovery a whole lot more over the next few weeks. Right. So, yeah. So this is coming. And it's going to be here. It should be here within the next day or two. I would assume. Although, yeah, I have learned the danger of assuming things. So, what is Season of Discovery Phase 4? So we talked about this previously. We went over the notes on Season of Discovery Phase 4. Basically, it's going to include a couple of things. First of all, level 60. This is going to be a new level 60 content phase. That is a given. We're going to get level 60. There's going to be the new raids, Molten Core and Ixious Lair. Probably going to include Blackwing Lair and Zul'Grub as well. We don't know if the other raids are going to be different phases. We also don't know if there's going to be new raids that are going to be coming in as a result of this. So that all remains to be seen. All right. Then they talked about the need to tune classes for level 60, and this is why we're getting a PTR for Season of Discovery, which we hadn't done previously. So they had everything was, oh, it's a surprise, we're just gonna, and this time they're like, no, we need players to test this. We need players to validate that these runes aren't going to be OP in one way or the other. Either you're way overpowered or this is basically garbage, no one's ever going to use it. So to that end, they're going to put target dummies in the capital cities so the players can go in on the PTR and test this, which I think is great. And one of the reasons why it's being delayed is because Cataclysm Classic kind of took all the thunder from the Classic team. So all this to be said, that there's going to be a lot of Season of Discovery coming up in the next few weeks. I would guess, and this is just my opinion, but my opinion states that we might be getting a Season of Discovery Phase 4 launch probably sometime in early July. Now, if you recall from the Blizzard roadmap, that was put out at the beginning of this year. We're supposed to get Cataclysm Classic Phase 2 in the beginning of July. So does that mean that we're going to get Cataclysm Classic Phase 2 towards the end of July? We're also going to get the War Within pre-patch probably sometime at the end of July. There's a lot that's going to overlap. So, we could end up with one week after the other, Season of Discovery, Cataclysm Classic, the War Within. And that's probably what will end up happening in some fashion. Because don't forget that Blizzard is, as an American company, they are going to have to take time off for Independence Day, which is July 4th. And so that week is basically shot for any sort of updates. So we probably wouldn't get anything new for Season of Discovery until the week of July 8th. So the Monday, July 8th, which would put Cataclysm Classic at July 15th, which would put the War Within pre-patch at July 22nd. These are all the Mondays. So I know Blizzard doesn't typically release patch content on Mondays. It's either on Tuesday or Thursday. So, but regardless, you get the point. This is just going to be wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, one week after the other. Now, we could end up seeing one of these pushed out, in which case, say if we get the War Within pre-patch on July 30th, then we could get Cataclysm Classic on the 23rd and Phase 4 on the 16th. Either way, we're going to get all of this stuff in July. I'm speculating. I mean, it's already June 11th. We still don't have the PTR. So if we get the PTR in this week, and I would say even if it's a 2-week PTR really quick, that's still, we won't get a patch until July. And like I said, that first week of July is Independence Day. So typically companies don't like to do any sort of changes over holiday weeks like that, because if they deploy something on, say, Tuesday and there's problems, that means people are going to have to work potentially on Thursday to fix them. And people don't like having to work holidays. Just saying. So we're going to get level 60 content. So yeah, I'm a little scared about what that means for Season of Discovery, because are we going to get, is this Phase 4 the end and that we're just going to start rolling through content? Or are we going to get new runes and abilities in a subsequent Phase 4? Because if we look at the roadmap, there is a Phase 5 on there. And they weren't calling the phases back then, but it's just level 60 updates. So, and that's why I was speculating that we might get a different phase for AQ, Nax, all that content. Basically the later vanilla content. I don't know. I don't know what we're going to end up getting. Obviously, Blizzard is still playing this very close to the vest, and as they should, and that's fine. But it's really tough to speculate on what we might be getting, especially since now we're looking at, okay, well, there's going to be a PTR. So is there going to be a PTR for the next phase as well? We just don't know. So yeah, this really is interesting that they're going down this road. And I did do an episode on, is Season of Discovery a failure? And I do believe it is, from the standpoint of, this isn't really the discovery portion of Season of Discovery. It didn't really work. This isn't 2004. You can't recreate that magic. Yeah, it was cool the first few weeks running around finding runes and discovering them. But once it got into, hey, this is a multi-step process and you've got to do all these things, how are you supposed to discover that? The only way we discovered this stuff back in vanilla is it took us months and months to find these things. And we had, 8 weeks for Phase 2? That's not enough time to discover all this stuff. So now you have the WoW Secrets Discord that's going around finding all this stuff and reporting it back, and players just go there or to Wowhead instead of actually discovering it for themselves because it was too hard. Was Season of Discovery a failure? Yeah, I think in some ways it was. Is it fun? Yeah, I think so. I enjoyed it, and I might go back and level up one of my alts. I don't know. It's still there and it's going to be there for a while, but are we going to see more seasonal content like this? Maybe. I think that would be pretty cool. I still stand behind my idea of having classic servers that are seasonal in the same way. Instead of saying, hey, we're just going to continue to progression realms. So Cataclysm is going to go into Mists of Pandaria, and Mists of Pandaria is going to go into Warlords of Draenor, and so on and so forth. Instead of doing that, let's have just, all right, this is a Warlords of Draenor Classic. You start at level 100 or level 90. I think it was level 90. You start at level 90, you level to 100, and you're just doing the Warlords content. There's no need to go and start at level 1. Oh, I'm going to level through Elwyn Forest. Forget all that. Just give us servers that are just the content. Give Warlords of Draenor, you could do that in 9 months and be done. And then people will be satisfied because they ran all the raids, they got all the stuff. The biggest problem with the newer expansions, and I'm kind of getting off topic here, but that's okay. The problem with the newer expansions is that you start to get things like transmog. And then people go, well, I got this transmog, or I got this mount, or I got this pet that I really like, and I want to be able to keep it. You could do that. It's called Modern WoW, Dragonflight, The War Within. But I get it. You don't like the new version of the game. You want to play the old version of the game. Well, the old version of the game is becoming the new version. It already is with Cataclysm, and we're just going more and more and more down that path. But regardless, Season of Discovery, I think, is a good template for, hey, here's how you could do a seasonal server that is vanilla content, and you can change whatever the fuck you want and have it be whatever you want it to be. That's okay. You can do that, and people will play it. You just have to be consistent with your updates and consistent with what you're doing. If you're going to make changes to it, you have to be ready to make those changes. And they were at first. They were on it. They were, boom, changes are coming in every week. And then it stopped because Cataclysm Classic basically cannibalized the Classic team. So rather than having multiple Classic enterprises, as it were, that they need to keep track of, let's just have one Classic, whether it's Season of Discovery or Cataclysm or whatever, one version of Classic that players can play. And you might have different iterations of it. Maybe you've got a Mists of Pandaria server running simultaneously with a Battle for Azeroth server. That's fine, because people can choose which one they want to play. And that's okay to give players that choice, but you have to be able to support those all at the same time. And I don't think the Classic team right now has enough bandwidth to do that. But if you broke it off and you said, okay, you 4 people are going to work on Mists of Pandaria Classic, and you 5 people are going to work on Shadowlands Classic, you could do that. I don't know. They'd have to clean up some of that content, obviously, and it's going to take some development time. But once you've done it, once you've developed it, you could just run through those servers. If you have a Warlords of Draenor server that runs for 9 months, and then it's just there, it's finished with the content, players can go back and run the raids as many times as they want, and then you go, okay, well, once the server is done, then you have 6 months, and then the server will close, and you can transfer your characters off to another realm or whatever. But we're not going to just maintain these perpetual servers. That once you've created those, you could just roll them out every year and a half or so. Hey, it's a fresh server, and Classic players love their fresh servers, man. I'll tell you. So that's not the worst idea. I mean, I like it. I think it's a good. I think it's a good idea, but I guess I'm biased. So I really hope that Season of Discovery Phase 4 works, and I hope that Phase 5 works. I know that they're trying to surprise us with some new raids, which we saw the whole thing with Karazhan at BlizzCon, the Karazhan Crypts, which would be really cool to have a brand new raid in vanilla with vanilla talents and vanilla abilities, except that it's not vanilla because it's Season of Discovery and you've got all these runes that completely change the way you play. So I don't know. I'll still try it out. All right. I'm just rambling at this point. We're gonna move on to the weekly rant, but before I do, I just wanted to say one thing. I love the fact that we have so many versions of World of Warcraft right now. We have Classic Era, we've got Hardcore, we've got Season of Discovery, we've got Cataclysm, we've got Dragonflight, we've got Mists of Pandaria Remix. I mean, there is so much World of Warcraft right now. We had Plunderstorm, a month ago, and that was a lot of fun too. They can bring any of these things back and move them around in any way that they want. The team has become so flexible and so adaptable. I think it's great. I'm probably going to stick with 1, maybe 2 versions of World of Warcraft, and I think that's the idea. I don't think they're expecting players to be able to jump through all 5, 6, whatever versions of World of Warcraft. but I'm glad that they're here because I feel like the audience for Blizzard games has grown as they've gotten wiser in less gatekeepy with how they're producing an MMO. So I really like that. I'm not just trying to blow smoke up Blizzard's what, but I do like how they've been running the team, and I do like how things have been going. So, all right, that's enough of my rambling. Let's move on to the weekly rant.
It's time for the weekly rant.
All right. As I alluded to earlier, I was trying to be helpful. I was trying to be a good content creator, whatever you want to call it. I put out just an image of, hey, here's the timeline for The War Within, and here's what we can expect coming in the next couple of months. I thought I was being so helpful. I thought people were going to say, oh, hey, thank you for this nifty little guide. You're great. And I'll put a link to the Reddit post in the show notes because, you know what? While I am embarrassed, I'm not ashamed because I was trying. So when I put that out there, people got angry at me. And the reason that people got angry is because I made an assumption based on what Blizzard had said previously. So at BlizzCon and after BlizzCon, in different interviews, different people on the Blizzard team, different developers have made the statement of, you're going to be able to do Mythic Dungeons in the preseason. This was stated multiple times by Blizzard. So when I put my little chart together of, hey, here's what content is going to be available at which time, I included Mythic Dungeons in the preseason, coming with the launch on August 26th. Now, right off the bat, somebody said, hey, that's not going to be available until the reset. And I said, oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, great. And that's where it took a turn for the worse, because everybody who replied after that said, no, they're not going to be available in the preseason. Since they dropped champion gear, Blizzard's not going to make it so that you can get champion gear but before you can go in the raid. And I said, well, okay, I get that that's what you're saying and that's how you feel, but here's what they've said. And I repeated that over. It was the same argument with multiple people. Hey, this doesn't make sense because they dropped champion gear now. Okay, I get that it doesn't make sense, but that's what Blizzard said over and over and over again. I even created a second Reddit post, which I had to delete because it was so wrong. My statement, my title of that Reddit post was so wrong, I had to delete it because this is so bad. So when Blizzard made the announcement yesterday of how the dungeons were going to change and that Mythic Dungeons were not going to be available in the preseason, I was so deflated. And like I said, I was embarrassed because I thought I knew what I was talking about. I was like, no, here's what Blizzard said. Look, guys, I found these posts from Blizzard and it says this, and you guys are all wrong. Well, turns out I was wrong. I was the one who was wrong, and it really pissed me off because I thought, you know what? I'm trying to be like I said, be a good content creator and get stuff out there. But it didn't work that way, and I felt bad. I even had somebody tell me, hey, when we find out one way or the other, have me on your podcast so I can tell you that you were wrong. And Pleather Bear, if you're out there and you're listening, or if you got my message on Reddit, you can be on the podcast next week. I will have you on. You can have your own segment dedicated to you ripping me apart. Let's do it. But I was really upset. And I learned a valuable lesson, which is never make assumptions, only report on facts. And that's why I try to be very careful today going through what I am, because we are still making a lot of assumptions, like about crests and Great Vault and things like that. We don't even know when the Great Vault is going to show up. We don't know if the Great Vault is going to wait until season 1 or if it's going to happen, but we don't know. We don't know when delves are going to be available. We don't know. We can guess, but a guess is only going to get us in trouble. So what I would like to say is, I feel like going forward, I'm going to try very hard to just post facts. And if I have something that's my opinion, I'll put it out there as my opinion. Not, hey, here's what's going to happen. It's, here's what I think should happen. Or here's what I think is going to happen. And people say no, I can say, oh, okay, well, that was my opinion. I guess, if you have something that counters my opinion, you know what? There you go. But I don't need to go at it with people on Reddit trying to defend my air quote facts, when the reality is, no, these aren't facts. These are just my opinions or my speculation. So, all right. I wanted to get that out there. I was really, like I said, I was really embarrassed, and I felt really bad for arguing with people. But at the same time, you know what? I'm trying, and I really thought I knew what I was talking about. So, that was rough. All right. That's going to do it for our show for today. Thank you so much for listening. And hopefully, I'm trying to do this on a video podcast today in preparation for doing a live stream broadcast next week. So if you're listening at this point and you are thinking, I didn't know there was a video version of this podcast. Yeah, there is. It's on my YouTube channel. It's YouTube at youtube.com/@Denethar01. So you can go check that out. Hopefully, assuming the upload works correctly. I am going to go through and do some edits to the video before I upload it. So it's possible that it won't look exactly or won't sound exactly like this, but I'll have it out there in some form, fashion. And the goal is to do the podcast every Tuesday night at 9:00 p.m. Eastern Time, which is 6:00 p.m. Pacific Time. And I guess that would be, 1:00 a.m. GMT. So anyway, the point is I would do every night, every Tuesday, I'll do the stream. I'll record the podcast on the stream, and then I'll go in and edit it and upload it to the podcast platforms at that point. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know. I don't know how this is going to work out. I could be recording this entire thing and have to delete it and start over, but hopefully that's not the case. Yeah, so if this works out and you enjoy having the video podcast, that's great. I'm going to try and put some helpful graphics and things on the screen in the post edit. As I've said before, this is just me. I'm just doing it by myself. I don't have a Frank here who can do this like the Poddy C or one of these other podcasts. It's just me. It's me and just me. So I've got to do the editing. I've got to do the video edit. I've got to do the graphic work. All of it. It's all me. So yeah. There you go. All right. Like I said, that's going to wrap up our show for this week. Thank you so much for listening. It's always a pleasure and a privilege to get on this microphone and in front of this webcam to talk to you and just, to talk about World of Warcraft. It's a game that I love and really enjoy. So hopefully you do too. And if you want to get a hold of me, you can reach me on Twitter. I am at Denethar, or you can email me at Denethar01. Oh boy, let me start that over again. You can reach me on Twitter. I am at Denethar, or you can email me. My email is denethar1@gmail.com. I do occasionally stream on Twitch, and I have been streaming the beta a couple times. So you can check out my stream. It's twitch.tv/Denethar01, or you can go to my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/@Denethar01. And you can catch me on all those locations. I'll have all these links in the show notes as well. But if you want to get a hold of me in any way, please do not hesitate. You can get a hold of me on Reddit too, but I'm Denethar there as well. But just don't flame me, please. My feelings are very sensitive. All right. And that's going to do it here. Remember to be good to each other out there, whether you're in game or on the internet. Just in general, be nice to each other. It doesn't hurt to be nice. You know what? You may not always want to be nice. You may want to defend your position on something or criticize somebody's DPS or their healing or whatever it is, their talent choices. It doesn't matter. It doesn't hurt to be nice, and you can smile. And just remember, that's a real person on the other side of that keyboard. So just take it easy on people and be good to each other out there. Smile. I love you all, and I'll see you in Azeroth.